of what could possibly be one of our better Facebook marketplace purchases. I still feel like we might be getting catfished only because this is such kind of like a rare vehicle and weird timing because we've actually been talking about a vehicle just like this.
You won't believe what happened to Heavy D Sparks, the Diesel Brothers star who had it all lost everything in the most shocking way possible. Millions of fans watched him build monster trucks, but they never saw the dark secret that was destroying his life behind the scenes. Federal agents, devastating betrayals, and a lawsuit so massive it could bankrupt anyone. What you're about to discover will change everything you thought you knew about Heavy D. Heavy D Sparks, whose real name is Dave Sparks, was born on January 5th, 1985 in Layton, Utah.
One of our Discovery producers texted me like a week ago, a video of either this or a truck just like it.
Really?
He's like, bro, you need this. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I've seen that thing around forever. I don't know where I could find it.
Growing up in this working-class community north of Salt Lake City, Dave experienced the kind of childhood that shapes many successful entrepreneurs. His family encouraged mechanical curiosity, but operated within tight financial constraints that made every dollar count. This combination of encouragement and limitation would prove crucial in developing his later approach to business and content creation. From an early age, Dave showed an unusual fascination with engines and mechanical systems. While other children might have been content with video games or sports, he was drawn to understanding how things worked under the hood. By his teenage years, this curiosity had evolved into active experimentation. He would take apart vehicles just to reassemble them, often making improvements along the way. This hands-on approach to learning became a defining characteristic that would serve him well in his future endeavors. However, Dave's journey took a tragic turn when he was just 21 years old. The death of his father created a profound impact that would influence every major decision he made afterward. Losing a parent at such a young age doesn't simply create grief. It fundamentally alters how someone views time, opportunity, and security. For Dave, this loss became a driving force that pushed him to pursue opportunities aggressively, rather than waiting for them to appear naturally. Friends and family members who knew Dave during this period noted a significant change in his approach to life. The tragedy seemed to accelerate his ambitions and create an urgency that wasn't present before. This shift in perspective helps explain the relentless energy that would later characterize his public persona as Heavy D. Despite his mechanical interests, Dave initially followed conventional expectations by enrolling at Weber State University. However, the traditional academic environment proved to be a poor fit for his learning style and temperament. After completing just one semester, he made the decision to drop out, later describing classrooms as too confining for his needs. This decision, while risky, reflected his growing understanding that his path to success would need to be unconventional. Rather than viewing his departure from college as a failure, Dave redirected his energy toward practical experience. He began working for his uncle's construction business, where he discovered the perfect outlet for his mechanical interests and physical energy. Operating heavy equipment and managing excavation projects provided him with valuable skills that would later prove essential in his entertainment career. The construction work offered more than just employment. It provided Dave with a deep understanding of heavy machinery and the satisfaction of building tangible results from scratch. These experiences taught him about the relationship between risk, effort, and reward that would become central to his business philosophy. The job also introduced him to the culture surrounding heavy equipment, which would later influence his approach to automotive content. During these formative years in construction, Dave's entrepreneurial instincts began to emerge more clearly. He started documenting his work and personal projects, filming pranks, mechanical experiments, and various adventures. This instinct for entertainment and documentation proved to be incredibly prescient, as it developed skills that would become crucial during the rise of social media and video platforms. The transition from construction worker to content creator didn't happen overnight. Dave's early videos were experimental and focused primarily on documenting his own interests rather than entertaining a broad audience. However, these early attempts at content creation helped him develop an understanding of what made compelling visual material and how to maintain viewer interest. A crucial turning point came when Dave connected with David Kiley, who would later become known as Diesel Dave. This partnership proved to be transformative for both men, as their combined skills and personalities created a dynamic that was greater than the sum of its parts. While Dave brought mechanical expertise and entrepreneurial drive, Diesel Dave contributed storytelling abilities and a complementary personality that balanced the partnership. Together, they began focusing on diesel truck modifications that pushed the boundaries of what seemed possible. Their projects involved massive smokestacks, extreme lift kits, and performance modifications that created dramatic visual effects. The trucks they built looked nothing like factory models and performed in ways that seemed to defy conventional automotive wisdom. The timing of their collaboration coincided perfectly with the growth of online video platforms. As YouTube and other platforms began gaining mainstream attention, Dave recognized the opportunity to share their builds with a much larger audience than they could reach locally. Their early videos combined mechanical skill with entertainment value, creating content that appealed to both automotive enthusiasts and general viewers looking for exciting material. The viral success of their videos didn't happen by accident. Dave and his team understood the importance of visual drama and emotional engagement. Their builds weren't just technically impressive, they were designed to create memorable moments that viewers would want to share with others. This approach to content creation demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of audience psychology that would prove crucial in building their brand. As their online following grew, the Diesel Brothers brand began to take shape organically. What started as documentation of personal projects evolved into a recognizable entertainment property with its own style and expectations. Viewers began anticipating certain types of content and developed emotional connections to the personalities involved. The success of their online content attracted attention from traditional media companies looking to capitalize on the growing interest in automotive entertainment. In 2016, the Discovery Channel offered them their own television show, marking a major milestone in their journey from local mechanics to national entertainers. The Diesel Brothers television show represented a significant evolution in their approach to content creation. While their YouTube videos had been relatively informal and spontaneous, television production required more structured storytelling and professional production values. The show maintained the playful spirit of their original content, while adding elements like giveaways and more elaborate builds that wouldn't have been possible with their earlier budget constraints. The television exposure transformed Dave from a regional figure into a national personality. The show's success demonstrated that there was a substantial audience for automotive entertainment that combined technical skill with humor and personality. This validation encouraged Dave to expand his business operations beyond simple content creation. Recognizing the opportunity to build a comprehensive business empire, Dave launched several interconnected ventures. Diesel Sellers became a classified platform specifically for diesel vehicles, creating a marketplace that served their audience's interests while generating revenue. Sparks Motors provided custom fabrication services, allowing them to monetize their mechanical skills directly. Diesel Power Gear developed into an apparel and merchandise company that strengthened their brand identity while creating additional income streams. Each of these businesses was designed to complement the others, creating a system where success in one area would drive growth in the others. The television show generated awareness that drove traffic to their websites, which in turn created customers for their services and products. This integrated approach demonstrated sophisticated business thinking that went far beyond simple content creation. Even as their television career flourished, Dave maintained focus on digital platforms. His personal YouTube channel, Heavy D Sparks, continued producing content that provided behind-the-scenes access and adventures that couldn't be shown on television. This multi-platform approach ensured that their success wasn't entirely dependent on any single media company or distribution method. By the height of their success, Dave had created something much larger than a simple automotive business. He had built a multimedia empire that combined entertainment, commerce, and community engagement in ways that were innovative for the automotive industry. His brand represented a particular attitude toward trucks, modification, and mechanical ambition that resonated with millions of viewers. However, this rapid growth and increasing visibility also brought new challenges and scrutiny that would eventually threaten everything he had built. The very characteristics that enabled his rise would soon create vulnerabilities that his critics and competitors could exploit. The turning point for Heavy D's empire wasn't a failed build or a ratings slump, but a courtroom. What began as playful defiance of environmental norms soon spiraled into a legal storm that nearly dismantled everything he had created. The irony was brutal. The very thing that made Heavy D famous, his willingness to push boundaries and create spectacle, would become the weapon used against him. It all started in 2016, when Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, known as UPHE, a nonprofit focused on clean air advocacy, filed a lawsuit against Heavy D, Diesel Dave, and their entire diesel sellers operation. The timing couldn't have been worse. This was right when the Diesel Brothers show was gaining massive traction on Discovery Channel, when sponsors were lining up and when Heavy D thought he had finally cracked the code to sustainable success. The claim from UPHE was simple in its language, but devastating in its implications. They alleged that the Diesel Brothers were systematically and illegally modifying trucks to bypass federal emission controls, actively encouraging what's known as rolling coal culture, and then selling these modified vehicles directly to unsuspecting members of the public. To most viewers watching at home, this looked like harmless entertainment, guys having fun with massive machines and creating content that millions enjoyed. But to environmental lawyers and federal regulators, it represented something far more serious, a direct violation of federal environmental law. To build their case and prove their allegations weren't just theoretical, UPHE took an extraordinary step. They actually purchased one of the modified trucks that had been featured on the show and subjected it to rigorous professional emissions testing. The results were absolutely damning and went far beyond what anyone expected. That single truck, which had been modified by Heavy D's team and sold as part of their regular business operations, emitted 36 times more pollutants than a factory stock model. Even more shocking, it produced 21 times more particulate matter, the kind of pollution directly linked to respiratory problems and air quality degradation. To Heavy D and his crew, these modifications represented entertainment value, pure and simple. They were creating a spectacle of black smoke and roaring power that fans absolutely ate up online. The rolling coal culture wasn't just about the trucks. It was about attitude, about making a statement, about refusing to be told what you could and couldn't do with your own property. For many fans, especially in rural communities, these modifications represented freedom and self-expression in its purest form. But to regulators, health advocates, and environmental scientists, the same modifications represented something entirely different. A direct and measurable threat to air quality in Utah, a state already struggling with some of the worst pollution problems in the entire country. Utah's unique geography, with its valley systems that trap pollutants, made every additional source of emissions a serious public health concern. The state had been fighting for years to meet federal air quality standards, and there was a popular television show seemingly encouraging people to make the problem worse. The lawsuit alleged repeated and willful violations of the Clean Air Act, a federal law that leaves absolutely no room for creative interpretation or leniency. This wasn't a state regulation that might vary from place to place, or a local ordinance that could be negotiated. This was federal environmental law, backed by the full weight of the Environmental Protection Agency, and enforced by federal courts that had seen these kinds of cases before. By 2018, the legal situation had escalated dramatically beyond simple civil litigation. A federal judge issued a preliminary injunction, a court order that carried the full force of federal law. Judge Robert J. Shelby ordered Heavy D and his entire crew to immediately stop producing, modifying, or selling any trucks equipped with emissions defeat devices. The language was crystal clear and left no room for interpretation. Any vehicle that had been modified to bypass or disable federal emissions controls was now legally off limits. Just like that, with the stroke of a judicial pen, what had once seemed like harmless viral fun was now under strict federal legal scrutiny. Every build, every modification, every truck that rolled out of their shop had to be carefully examined to ensure compliance with federal emission standards. The creative freedom that had made their content so appealing was suddenly constrained by legal requirements that threatened the very foundation of their business model. The financial implications were immediately apparent. Entire categories of builds that had been reliable moneymakers were now completely off limits. Projects that might have taken days to complete now required weeks of additional engineering and compliance verification. The spontaneous, high-energy content that fans loved was replaced by careful, methodical processes designed to avoid further legal complications. Then came the hammer blow that nobody saw coming. In March 2020, Judge Robert J. Shelby issued a final ruling that sent shockwaves throughout the entire automotive modification industry. The Diesel brothers were ordered to pay $850,000 in civil penalties, a figure that represented one of the largest Clean Air Act fines ever imposed on individual content creators. But the money was only part of the punishment. More devastating than the financial penalty was the permanent injunction that accompanied it. The court banned Heavy D and his team permanently from modifying or selling any vehicles with tampered emission systems. This wasn't a temporary restriction that might be lifted after paying fines or completing compliance training. This was a permanent, lifetime ban that would follow Heavy D for the rest of his career. Judge Shelby's written opinion was particularly harsh, using language that cut directly to the heart of Heavy D's public persona. The judge accused the Diesel brothers of engaging in flagrant misconduct and completely dismissed their legal argument that the modifications were intended exclusively for off-road use. The court found that this defense was not only unconvincing, but represented an attempt to circumvent the clear intent of federal environmental law. The ruling did far more than impose financial penalties or operational restrictions. It fundamentally damaged the credibility of the entire Diesel Brothers brand. Heavy D had built his entire public image on defiance and spectacle, on the idea that with enough creativity and determination, you could overcome any obstacle or regulation. But now that same spectacle was being officially characterized by a federal court as reckless disregard for both the law and public health. The legal decision created immediate ripple effects throughout Heavy D's fan base, splitting his audience in ways that continue to this day. Some supporters saw the ruling as government overreach, as federal bureaucrats trying to destroy a successful business that represented American entrepreneurship and creativity. These fans rallied around Heavy D, viewing him as a victim of regulatory persecution and excessive government interference in free enterprise. But others, including some longtime supporters, began to see the court ruling as proof that the Diesel brothers had simply pushed too far beyond reasonable boundaries. These fans felt betrayed, realizing that the entertainment they had enjoyed was apparently causing real environmental harm in communities across the country. Heavy D himself appeared genuinely caught between competing identities that were becoming increasingly difficult to reconcile. On one hand, he was the entertainer who had built his career by giving fans exactly what they wanted: bigger trucks, louder engines, and more spectacular stunts. On the other hand, he was now a businessman facing serious legal consequences and trying to navigate federal regulations that seemed designed to eliminate everything that made his content appealing. The emissions lawsuit was just the beginning of Heavy D's legal troubles, but it established a pattern that would define the next phase of his career. Every creative decision now had to be filtered through legal considerations. Every business opportunity had to be evaluated for potential regulatory compliance issues. The freedom and spontaneity that had made Heavy D successful were being systematically constrained by legal requirements that threatened to drain both his creativity and his bank account. The legal battles were devastating, but the real tragedy of Heavy D's story lies in understanding that his empire wasn't just trucks and YouTube views. It was his life, his reputation, and his way of carrying the weight of a past that had shaped him. As the lawsuits dragged on and financial hits mounted, The toll on his personal world became impossible to hide behind his larger-than-life persona. Heavy D had always presented himself as fearless, an unstoppable force who could turn any setback into compelling content. This was genuinely one of the things his millions of viewers loved most about him. He embodied resilience and determination, the idea that with enough grit, you could overcome any obstacle. Yet as legal battles wore on, signs of strain began appearing between the lines of his carefully maintained public persona. Friends and dedicated fans were first to notice the shifts in Heavy D's content. The massive truck builds that made him famous became less frequent, replaced by safer content strategies. There was increased focus on recovery missions and lifestyle content, formats less likely to attract regulatory scrutiny. While presented as creative evolution, these felt more like survival tactics than genuine artistic choices. The financial pressure was relentless. Legal battles are rarely cheap, but for Heavy D, the cost went far beyond attorney fees. By the early 2020s, years of courtroom battles had begun showing in very public ways that couldn't be hidden from his audience. The most symbolic moment came in 2022, when Heavy D and Diesel Dave were forced to sell Fremont Island, an 11,000-acre property they had dreamed of turning into a recreational paradise. This wasn't just real estate. It represented one of Heavy D's boldest visions, proof that their success could translate into something permanent. To supporters, the sale looked like the end of an era, a forced retreat from their most ambitious venture. But Fremont Island wasn't the only financial pressure. Court filings revealed significant restrictions on business operations, cutting into revenue streams. The federal injunction meant entire categories of builds were now off limits. Every truck project had to pass multiple layers of scrutiny, eating away at profit margins and creative momentum. The emissions case was just the beginning. In 2024, an even more devastating blow landed when Heavy D lost a trademark lawsuit. Following a dispute with an Idaho company called Diesel Power Gear, a judge awarded $11.8 million in damages. The judgment was staggering, nearly 14 times larger than the emissions fine, raising questions about whether even a successful YouTube empire could bear this financial weight. Combining the Fremont Island sale, the $850,000 emissions penalty, and the looming $11.8 million trademark judgment painted a sobering picture. Heavy D, once seemingly untouchable, was now forced to defend his assets at every turn. Equipment auctions and asset liquidations became regular parts of his story. Family had always been central to Heavy D's narrative. He spoke emotionally about losing his father at 21, how it drove him to chase success with relentless energy. That loss shaped him into a man who equated stability with control of his business, finances, and future. But now, with multi-million-dollar judgments looming and his name entangled in controversy, control was slipping away. The constant stress took a visible toll on Heavy D's health. His high-stress lifestyle, combined with managing lawsuits, creating content, and running businesses under legal constraints, sparked speculation about burnout. Though he maintained his upbeat persona online, supporters questioned how the battles affected his mental and physical health. Heavy D occasionally acknowledged the pressures, hinting at sleepless nights and difficulty separating work from personal life when your livelihood is under constant scrutiny. Public image became another battlefield. Once celebrated as a symbol of American entrepreneurship, Heavy D found himself painted in polarized terms he couldn't control. To some supporters, he remained a folk hero, victim of government overreach. To critics, particularly those concerned about environmental issues, he represented reckless disregard for public health and intellectual property rights. The most heartbreaking aspect wasn't the financial losses or legal defeats. It was watching a man who had once controlled his narrative completely lose that ability. Every headline, court ruling, and forced sale became part of a larger story about decline that Heavy D could no longer shape, no matter how hard he worked. For longtime supporters who had followed his journey from viral videos through television success, this loss of narrative control represented the real tragedy. He wasn't just drowning in legal troubles, but suffering the personal cost of watching life's work become a lightning rod for controversy with no clear end. The road ahead remains uncertain. Legal battles continue, financial pressures persist, and public debate around his legacy unfolds. Yet Heavy D has left an undeniable imprint on automotive culture. He transformed niche diesel culture into global entertainment, blending mechanical skill with showmanship like no one before. Viewers came to see him not just as a builder, but as a storyteller who made engines feel like adventures. But legacies are complicated. For every supporter who praises Heavy D as a pioneer, critics point to his legal troubles as proof of recklessness. His future could hold redemption if appeals reduce fines and his content continues thriving, or it could spiral further into losses that eclipse his achievements. Heavy D is still living inside his story, and the ending hasn't been written. The road ahead for Heavy D remains anything but clear or certain. The various lawsuits remain unresolved, with appeals and negotiations continuing to drag on year after year. The financial pressures show no signs of easing, and the public debate around his legacy continues to unfold in ways that are increasingly beyond his ability to influence or control. Yet even in the middle of this ongoing turmoil and uncertainty, one truth remains undeniable. Heavy D has left a permanent imprint on automotive culture that won't easily fade away, regardless of how his legal and financial battles ultimately resolve. From the early breakthrough days of Diesel Brothers on the Discovery Channel, to the rise of his personal YouTube channel, with its millions of dedicated subscribers, Heavy D clearly redefined how trucks and automotive content could capture mainstream attention and imagination. He successfully turned niche diesel culture into global entertainment, blending genuine mechanical skill with natural showmanship in a way that no one had attempted before. Over time, viewers came to see him not just as a skilled builder or mechanic, but as a genuine storyteller, someone who could make engines and recovery missions feel like adventures worth following and sharing with friends. But legacies, especially for public figures who have faced significant controversies, are inevitably complicated and multifaceted. For every dedicated supporter who continues to praise Heavy D as a pioneering figure who changed automotive entertainment forever, there are critics who point to his ongoing legal battles as clear proof of recklessness and poor judgment that undermines his positive contributions. Heavy D's future could very well hold some form of redemption, particularly if ongoing appeals succeed in reducing the massive fines, if his remaining businesses successfully adapt to legal constraints, and if his content continues to thrive despite the restrictions and controversies. Alternatively, his situation could spiral further into losses and legal consequences that ultimately eclipse and overshadow his undeniable achievements and positive contributions to automotive culture. In a very real sense, Heavy D is still living inside his own story, and the final ending hasn't yet been written. Whether that ending will be one of redemption, continued struggle, or something entirely unexpected remains to be seen. What seems certain is that Heavy D's story, whatever its ultimate conclusion, will continue to serve as a complex case study in the intersection of entertainment, business, regulation, and the very real human costs of pushing boundaries in an increasingly connected and scrutinized world.